September 1994. Still telemarketing, still just living life. But we got a lot of books to get through for September, so we're going to jump right in. And the first book is Iron Joe Bob by Joe Bob Briggs. And this was a spoof of the men's movement that was going on back in the day. Back before 4chan, incels, all that. There was still, men trying to be men. Gotta eat raw meat and run around the woods naked and kill things with your bare hands. I don't know. But anyway, Joe Bob Briggs wrote a book sort of spoofing that whole thing. And it's probably pretty funny. Don't remember too much about it. Probably offensive, too. He could tend to be offensive. Some people argue that it's just a character he's playing. Some say it doesn't matter if it's a character he's playing, if he's still perpetuating negative stereotypes and things. But anyway, we're not going to get into all of that at the moment. Iron Joe Bob by Joe Bob Briggs. That was book number 1. Book number 2, Past Time by Robert B. Parker, a Spencer novel, the 18th Spencer novel. And this one has the return of Paul Giacomin, or however you say his name. That's a character from my favorite Spencer book, Early Autumn. Spencer kind of saved him. And so he has come back 15 years, however many years later, 10 years later, come back to see Spencer because Paul's mother is missing. He wants Spencer's help to find her. It's a good book. I love the character of Paul. Not as good as Early Autumn. Love that book. But it was nice to see the character return, grown up now, living his life away from his horrible parents, and yet still loves his mother enough that he wants to, find her when she has seemingly disappeared. It's Spencer. It's good stuff. Which leads us to book number 3, Double Deuce by Robert B. Parker. This is the 19th Spencer novel, and this one focuses on Hawk, who is a great character. We get a lot about his past, but the main story is that there's this street gang that's terrorizing a housing project, I believe, and the people there want Hawk to help them out, so Hawk gets Spencer to help him. And they take on this street gang. And Susan Silverman, Spencer's longtime companion, wants him to move in with her. Sort of take their relationship to the next level. Really good one, especially if you're a fan of the character Hawk. Because it's, like I said, it focuses on him. Good stuff. Next up, Paper Doll by Robert B. Parker. This is the 20th Spencer book. So I read 18, 19, 20 all in a row. And in Paper Doll, this woman, who's apparently a model wife and mother, is murdered on the streets with a hammer. And Spencer's hired to investigate, find out what happened. Of course, there's always buried secrets and things in these kinds of stories. It's another good one. Of the 3, I would say the weakest, but again, for a Spencer novel, the weakest still means it's a good book. Then we move on to Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. Now, this is a fantastic book, especially if you don't know anything about it going in. But it's about Ender, and he is basically he's recruited into the military, and there's this invasion. There are these aliens, and so these young kids are recruited into the military, and they're playing war games to get them ready to take on these aliens. And there's stuff. Really, really good book. Orson Scott Card, on the other hand, apparently is a very problematic person. So I think maybe I've only ever read one other Orson Scott Card and refuse to read his stuff. I have plenty to read. Doesn't matter how good his stuff is. I don't need to support a problematic author by buying or reading any more of their stuff, or even going to the library to read it. But Ender's Game is great. I mean, it's a fantastic book. Haven't seen the movie. Again, don't want to support him. I guess technically, you could buy it at a used bookstore. That way, he's not getting anything for it. Because it's if you like sci-fi, it's a really good book. It's a classic for a reason. But don't support Orson Scott Card. Then we have The Letterman Wit by Bill Adler. And this is basically just a biography of David Letterman. Back in the day, we didn't have a lot of late night talk show choices. Of what there was, Letterman was my favorite. I wasn't a super devoted fan. I didn't like watch it every single night, but I would watch it. Found it funny. Sometimes he was annoying, but I like to read biographies and things, and this talks about him. And, well, it's a biography. Tells you his story. Excuse me. Then we have Spare Parts by Rick Hansen. This is a debut novel. It is a comedy mystery. And let's see. So our main character is Adam McLeet. He is a cop, an ex-cop turned sculptor. And I believe it's his sister, wants him to find her missing fourth husband. So he does that. He goes off to do that, and there's a serial killer and all sorts of crazy characters. It's filled with jokes, but I don't think I was super. I think it was fine. I wasn't super impressed. It wasn't Carl Hyacin kind of stuff, so it was all right. And it was a debut novel, so hopefully the guy got better. I don't know if I've ever read anything else by this guy. Let's move on to Singing Songs by Meg Tilly, the actress, sister of Jennifer Tilly. Back in the day, Meg Tilly was the big name. Now I think more people know Jennifer Tilly. But Meg Tilly wrote a book called Singing Songs. It's a story being told by a young girl named Anna, and it's basically just the story of abuse, neglect, a horrible family life. I really don't remember much about it, except it was depressing. We'll go to the next book. Joe Bob Briggs Goes Back to the Drive-In by Joe Bob Briggs. This is his second collection of his drive-in movie reviews. I've mentioned this before, I believe, that I read those reviews as they were printed in the paper. Essentially, I read them live. And I was a fan. I liked his style. He would, like, the first half of the review would be sort of a story leading up to he and his friends getting to the drive-in to watch the movie. Then he would review the movie, and his ratings would be, Kung Fu gets 2 kicks to the face. Boob Fu gets this. Decapitation Fu gets this. Really enjoyed them. This is a collection of those reviews, the second collection. And these books, the first and this one, are out of print. But I really wish someone would publish new editions, because finding them used is difficult and expensive. Next, we have Born Bad by Andrew Vaxx. This is a collection of short stories. They're all written in the typical punchy Andrew Vaxx style. They all deal with, I believe, evil in one form or another. It's good stuff. Andrew Vaxx was a fantastic writer. If you're like me and you like to see, at least in fiction, you see people get what's coming to them, this is the kind of thing you're going to want. I do remember one very specific story. I don't remember the title of it, but I remember the story specifically. Absolutely loved what went down at the end of that story. And it's a mix of reprinted work, and there's some new stuff that's new to the collection. Then, A Guide to Western Civilization, or My Story, by Joe Bob Briggs. He calls this the world's first, 100% fact-free autobiography. It's just a rambling story, essay, whatever. But again, it's that typical offensive redneck Joe Bob character. But I've almost always found him funny. Got to turn the page. I read so much in September of 1994. But we've only got 3 more to go. So, Columbo, The Grassy Knoll, by William Harrington. This is an original story based on the famous rumpled detective Columbo. And in this, there's this controversial talk show host who's going to finally reveal to the world who really killed JFK. And this talk show host is murdered. And so Columbo has to investigate the murder of him, which sort of leads to him investigating the assassination of John F. Kennedy. I'm a huge fan of Columbo. I love the character. So more than happy to read a novel based on the character. So if you're a Columbo fan, I recommend it if you can find a copy. Then the penultimate book, Batman, Nightfall, by Dennis O'Neil. This is a novelization of the Nightfall storyline, which introduced us to Bane, had spoilers, Bane breaking Batman's back. I believe the book covers Batman's recovery, Azrael taking over as Batman, Batman coming back, taking back the mantle, or Bruce Wayne coming back, taking back the mantle of Batman from Azrael. It's a pretty thick book. And, yeah, I like the storyline. I read the comics, read the novelization. And then finally, the last book of September. Is that what we're doing? September 1994 was Aliens. Let me emphasize that S. Aliens by Alan Dean Foster, which is, of course, the novelization of the movie Aliens. The action-packed science fiction film. One of those where a lot of people... There are quite a few franchises where a lot of people think the second movie is better than the first. I tend to like the first movies better. But it's a toss-up. Although Alien is a horror movie, Aliens is an action movie, I think. But Alan Dean Foster, great author, and he's done the novelizations for tons of stuff, and I believe all of the Alien movies, the original 4. So yeah, ended off with a decent, simple read. So that's it. That's a lot of books. I did not count them. I'm not going to count them now. You don't need to watch me doing that. My question, though, for this video, excuse me, we're going to go back to Joe Bob Briggs. Giving him the benefit of the doubt and saying that he is portraying a character, that the Joe Bob Briggs, well, that's not his real name anyway. So Joe Bob Briggs is a character that he's playing, and the character is racist, misogynistic, homophobic, whatever. How do you feel about someone portraying a character like this on a long-term basis through different media. See, it's not the same as an actor in a TV show or a movie playing a racist character in that TV show or movie. We know that's it. They're playing in something fiction. They're not, it's not them. We know that for a fact. So, Joe Bob, he's been playing this character for decades, obviously. And if we take it as, I don't know where that sentence was going. We'll take it as written, as they say, that the character of Joe Bob Briggs is perhaps racist, sexist, etc. Do you feel it's appropriate for someone to do this? For decades, to play a character, a lovable, beloved character, who has these negative traits. Do you think the majority of people are able to separate the character from the person? There has been some controversy surrounding Joe Bob. And he has, I think he's come out and said, I'm just playing a character. But does that make it okay? Is that an excuse? That's my question. And I think my answer is, it's kind of complicated. I don't always have the highest opinion of people. So I think there are a lot of people that just take Joe Bob at face value. And so he's, through no fault of his own, perpetuating these negative stereotypes, promoting these negative things. I don't know the guy. I don't think he's doing it on purpose. But, I generally say people aren't responsible for how other people take. It's a complicated question. That's why I'm asking you. Maybe you can help clear it up for me. I saw his real name earlier today, but I don't remember what it is. So the guy that plays Joe Bob Briggs could be the nicest, sweetest, most supportive person in the world. But if the face that he's presenting to the public for decades is basically the opposite of that, is that a problem? I think it could be. I hate to say that, but I think it could be problematic. I want to know what you think about it. Is this the kind of thing you even think of? I'm just trying to think of questions to get a conversation going. Obviously, I enjoyed reading most of his books. He's got a show on Shudder, which I watch on occasion. I do know people that watch it every week when it's on. It's on Friday nights, when they're doing new episodes. And I know people that are there Friday night watching it. I watch it if I happen to catch it, I'll watch it. Plus, being on Shudder, you can watch old episodes anytime. And even watching that show, there are some things, sometimes some of the things he says, I'm like, I cringe a little. So what do you think? Is it a case of separating the art from the artist? Is it more than that? Go back to Orson Scott Card. I can clearly admit that I think Ender's Game is a classic sci-fi novel. Everything I hear says Orson Scott Card is a piece of shit. So I'm separating those. He wrote something fantastic. He's scum. I choose not to support him. I've separated the art from the artist, but I'm not going to support him by continuing to consume his product, as it were. Do we do the same thing with Joe Bob? Is it just a character? I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, put those in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post a spoiler warning. We try to be polite here on my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. All the YouTube stuff. If you'd care to follow me on other social media, my Twitter is @Ronan5757. My Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comic books, board games, fuzzy animals, and occasionally my fancy new t-shirts. That's @ErikSmith5757. That's Erik with a K, ERIKSMITH 5757. That's all I've got for you this week. So until next week, read more books.